Hi everyone and welcome to the Property Locker podcast with O'Malley Property. I'm your host John O'Malley and I'm joined here today with my lovely colleague Emma Lawson.
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for joining us by the way.
No problem.
So today what we're going to be talking about, Emma, is we are going to be talking about how to prepare your property for the market. Now, there's a lot of things that go into thinking about preparing your property for the market. Most people think it's just about cleaning.
Yeah.
Most people think it's maybe just about getting a garden cut.
Yeah.
You know, and just wee bits and bobs. But there is a lot more. And the more you do, the quicker your sale will likely go through and the more you'll benefit in terms of what price you get. Mm-hmm. Yeah, would you agree with that?
Definitely.
So what we'll do is we'll jump straight into it for you guys because I don't want to waste your time with any mumbo jumbo. So we'll jump straight into it and we'll break it right down. And what we want to say first is the very first thing you must do before you phone an agent is look at your property, pick out the points that you think need work done on, whether it be a door that doesn't shut right, or whether it be a bulb that needs replaced, whether it be a little touch-up of paint, whether it be a kitchen unit or a kitchen handle.
Yep.
These things should be replaced, you know, and they're very cost-effective to get done.
Yeah, definitely. But they make the difference.
They do, don't they? And it's like when you walk into a property and think about it from a buyer's perspective and you see something, even just things like a bulb not working, there's a negative in your head.
Yeah.
That's what I always think, or, you know, if there's a kitchen handle off, you think to yourself, right, what's the kitchen units like? It starts to grow arms and legs in your head, doesn't it?
Yeah, the buyers start to think what else is wrong, and then they're not focusing on whether the property is suitable for their needs or their family needs. They start thinking, well, what else is wrong? And then they pound signs start flashing up in their heads, and then it's just a negative impact throughout the remainder of the viewing. So if you can minimise that, then I would recommend it.
100%. And one thing that we find is that people will know it might just be that handle that's fixed, and you as the seller might know, no, it's only it's only that. Mm-hmm. But a buyer doesn't. And even if you explain that to him or her, again, they would need to do their own checking probably to actually like trust that that's true. Because buyers are always a little bit, you know, skeptical. They're always looking for a reason to drop the price.
Yes.
So wee things like that can make a difference. And if you get all that done, those wee things done before you call the agent, I think that's a really good first step.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. And then obviously you get the agent round. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about really what should an agent be doing when they're in the house?
So when I'm looking at the property to generate a valuation for the clients, I'm thinking from a buyer's perspective. So I'm looking at what is a buyer's eye going to be drawn to?
Yeah.
And that could be, like you say, some repairs within the property, some paint touch-ups, you know, even things like maybe the carpet's fresh but it's not been cut properly, you know, the handle on the window just needs tightening, that sort of thing. So I'm looking at it from a buyer's perspective. What is a buyer going to look at when they come in? And if I know anything, then I'm going to give you guidance to get that changed prior to photos, prior to viewings, prior to the surveyor coming round. Because if you can minimise the amount of things that the surveyor's going to comment on in your home report, that's going to then entice people to come view your property.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that is the sort of the thing you need to look for in an agent is an agent that is going to walk around your house, is going to take in details, is going to write down some notes, and then is going to sit with you at the end of that valuation and discuss what they feel needs done to the property. Because what we are doing at that point, an agent is looking for issues that could potentially come up with a buyer that we might not have the strongest answer to. And if we can avoid that altogether, we can usually get that higher price, you know, and it can be the difference between like a good £1,000 or £2,000 for a repair that can be £20, you know, and it's massive. So I think that's what really matters when you've got an agent round is make sure that they are giving you feedback on your property. Make sure if somebody says it's okay and you yourself know it's not, then you've got to ask yourself if the agent's paying attention, you know. So I would always say that. I would definitely always say that.
Yeah.
Then moving on, obviously the agent's been, we've given you feedback on maybe some snagging that you need to take care of. And you've taken care of that.
Yeah.
The next stage is two things, isn't it? It's home report and photography.
Yep.
Yeah. So like talk us away a bit through how you would maybe prepare the house and things you would definitely have done for things like photographs coming and photography and home report getting done.
Yeah, so when the surveyor's coming round, he's of course there, or she's there to do your home report. They are predominantly focusing on the structure of your property and the condition, etc. They're not really looking at whether you've got toys out or anything like that, but they will focus on if the kitchen cabinet door doesn't close properly, because then they then mark down your kitchen joinery. And it, like you say, it could just be that one drawer. So again, as I mentioned, minimise the amount of things that the surveyor's going to comment on negatively. Obviously if it's structural and it's maybe things that you didn't know about, or maybe it's just an age thing, then that's fine. You can't change that unless you're going to completely repair the home. In terms of photography, declutter as much as possible. You want to show off the size of the rooms. So key things that I would definitely mention that some people don't even give a second thought about is washing in the washing machine. Make sure it's removed. I mean, every photographer's got an editing tool, but I would just say it's never going to look the same as edited, the natural thing. So get the washing out the washing machine. We all have washing, but just make sure it's done before the photographer comes round. Same with dishes. We've all done the dishes, but don't leave them on the draining board. Again, we all have dishes, we all do them, but again, it's just drawing your eye to that within that photo. You're not even looking at the style of kitchen, whether it's a very expensive kitchen. You're focused on those 2 plates and 3 mugs that are on the draining board. Another thing is in terms of perhaps kids' toys. They all come with a lot of them. So you might have them in your lounge, you might have a dedicated playroom. I would just move them out maybe into the hallway, move them into the kitchen space whilst the photographer takes the photos of that shot. Minimise them. Again, the less distraction the better. You want your property to look clean, aesthetically pleasing, and show off the space. That's the main thing. No, all really, really good advice, really strong advice. And I mean, obviously that's for the photographer, but then we've got the viewings after that. We go on the market, we've got the viewings, and while we have to, and when the photographer's there, I always say to the client, the photographer's going to take a picture of this room. There's X, Y, and Z lying about. Can we just take that out? Either stick it in the hole or we'll stick it in the cupboard. And sometimes I've seen people like literally jamming things into a cupboard, like if you open it, it's coming out. So tell me, what must we do before viewings? So again, a lot of people just think, I need to clean my house, which is an obvious, it's a given. So again, I wouldn't change anything with that. Clean your house as much as possible, because, a wee mug mark on the dining table can be the difference between someone liking your home or not. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but again, the less things that the eye's drawn to, the better. So definitely clean your home as best to your ability. Declutter, again, your property should be presented how the photos are. You don't want a client walking in and being disappointed because your home doesn't match how good it looks online. Like you say about the cupboards, it's fine to move things into a cupboard, but clients are going to look in your cupboards. Anything that is built in, obviously freestanding wardrobes, etc., they're not going to look in them, but built-in storage cupboards within your hallways, under your stairs, if you've got built-in sliding wardrobes, for example, clients want to look in them because that's what your house comes with. So it's fine to move the mess from one room to another, but just don't pack it into a storage cupboard, because storage is a big thing for everyone. It's the same with a kind of garage. There's been clients where, they're really, garage is a big thing for everyone, because it's storage, it's not for your car. But if you open your garage and it's like a jumbo sale, clients are really like, and that's probably what their garage is going to look like when they purchase the house. But again, usually because the garage is the last thing you're going to look at, it's on your way out the property. Again, don't leave that being the last thing that they think about when they think about your house. So you need to have the stuff in your garage, that's totally fine, but try and make it an organised chaos rather than an unorganised chaos.
And that's a really good point, an organised chaos. I mean, try and have it presented in as nice a way as possible, because the more way you can fold your towels into the cupboards, you can stack things in the garage better. It looks like you're organised, it looks like you're maintaining the property, it gives off the feeling of this house is well looked after, just by somebody opening a cupboard. Now, some people say, oh, people look in my cupboards, because we get that a lot,
Yeah.
don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, they do. They really do. They want to see the storage space. They want to see what they've got, and they will be judging you. Like, they will, as much as they say they're not. I know, don't worry about it, my cupboard's a mess. They're judging you, definitely.
Yes,
and,
I would agree.
And it's important to make sure these things are nice and tidy. So again, spend a bit of time. Make sure you get your cupboards organised. Like Emma said, make sure you get your garage organised and make sure everything's looking like it's well kept and well structured. And and that gives off a massive feeling of like sort of relief for the buyers that this place is looked after. I'm not going to find anything. So it's wee things like that can make the difference.
Definitely, yeah. So those would be all my tips. Don't just do it for the photographer, do it for your clients. You're not trying to impress the photographer, you're trying to impress the buyers. It's the buyers that are going to buy at the end of the day. So make sure that it's as much as it can be similar to your photos, because we have had comments where clients have come in and they're like, oh, it's just, it's nice, but it's not how I thought it was going to be. And there's nothing more disappointing than that, when it's where if you'd maybe just done those wee things, the client would have made comments on that, and they maybe would have took it to the next step.
Yeah, so true. And what about the outside? Let's talk about the outside and sort of we'll call it curb appeal. What would you say about that?
So curb appeal is just as important as the inside of the house, in my opinion. So again, like you said, for the photographer coming around, you might have had the grass freshly cut, or if you've got a gardener, you would have booked them the day before, so everything looks fresh. Keep that up, maintain that. Don't just have it again for the sake of a photos, and then 3 weeks later we've not cut the grass again and it's starting to grow out. Same goes for like bins. Again, we've all got them, but see if we've got a space down the side of the house, tuck them in there. We've all got 4 now, so it's kind of hard to hide them. But don't have them at the back door so that you're walking past bins when you're leaving the house. Don't have them out in the front garden if you can avoid having them there. And especially if it's bin collection day, there is nothing worse when you've not brought your bin back in. I understand it might have been that you've left for work that day and that was just the collection, but if I'm there early enough I will bring it in. But if someone's driving past your house and your bin's been out in the street for 3 days, it's not the best look.
Doesn't look good.
Same goes for the neighbour. If you're in a position where you've got a comfortable relationship with your neighbour, I would recommend give them a wee heads up that a photographer's coming. Give them a heads up that you've got a block viewing that's going to carry out for 2 hours. And if that can maybe encourage them, cut the grass, or even offer to cut the grass if you're doing the same, if they're maybe not in a position to do so. Same with their bins. There is nothing worse when you're in a property and you're maybe up in the back bedroom and you're taking in the views, etc., and the buyer is focusing on next door's neighbour's weeds, for example.
And that's it, because when people pull up to your house in the park, they say that basically they will make an assumption straight away off the curb, and then as soon as the first 5 seconds of them walking through that front gate and into that front door, they will have almost made up their mind whether it be a yay or a nay. And we want to make that area, that walk down to the door, that curb, that view from the curb, we want to make that look as good as possible.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure that looks really, really pristine, it's well kept, the grass is all cut, the weeds are all out of the garden, and like you say, the neighbours are looking respectable as well. So it is very, very important to look at that first impression, because people will make up their mind. I've actually had viewings where I have opened the door and the property's not been at its best, especially in the garden and the front door, and the front vestibule was really poor. The rest of the inside actually wasn't too bad. In the photographs, we made it probably look a little bit better than it was. But what I will say is that I actually had a viewer that walked down the path. I could see his face wasn't happy. He walked into the door, looked at the vestibule and was like, nah, it's not for me. He wouldn't even walk past the next door, and he walked back out. So it was like, right, okay, we've never even seen the inside of the house yet. So it does happen. People can be, they can get their minds made up really quickly and they stand firm on their decision, and that's it. Basically.
Definitely, You've got the same take in between the photographer and between the first booking. The clients might take that drive-by, so it's maintaining the property throughout the duration of being on the market, like I say, not just for the photographer. Or if they've got a friend that stays around the corner and happens to be walking the dog, you want them to be feeding back as positively as possible. You don't want them to say, well, actually, did you see the next door's neighbour? Or, you know, did you see the bins were lying out 3 days after collection? You know, just minimise all of the negative comments that you can.
Yeah, because people will always be drawn to the negative, you know, so they want to complain.
Definitely.
So yeah, like Emma says, you want to minimise that as much as possible. And then probably the last topic I would say about preparing your house for sale, it's the most toughest one in our job, I would say, is that everybody and everyone has their own style, their own colour palette, you know, their own what they think is really nice and what they don't think is really nice. When you are selling your house, but the main thing is you're selling it to somebody that it doesn't really matter at this point what your style is like. It doesn't really, because your style is for you living in this house. But if you're going to sell something, then maybe it's a little bit better to sort of almost neutralise it a little bit. Why would you say that is?
Just because, although everybody's going to want to put their own stamp on it, you know, whether that be wallpaper, paint, carpet, flooring, new kitchens, new bathrooms, etc. What I will say is, if you go into a beautiful, nice, open plan kitchen diner, for example, and it's painted a really, really dark red, for example, the client's automatically thinking, how many coats of paint is that going to take for me to cover that? Now, your taste of the red. One
of the things with the red as well that I would say, and even dark colours like that, it draws the room in as well.
Just about to say that, So with the clients, that suited your taste, or maybe your furniture's matched that, but they're thinking, well, actually, my sofa's not going to go with that colour. But they're automatically just thinking pound signs. I've got to replace all the paint in here. I would rather flooring than the carpets that are in here. The carpets look a bit done. And automatically they're thinking, well, that's money I've got to spend. So then they're less inclined to pay over and above the asking price for you, because they're thinking, well, I've got X, Y, and Z. And although it is just a lick of paint, it still costs money at the end of the day. And then, as you touched on, you want to make the rooms bright and airy. You don't want them to be dark and doom and gloom. So show them off as much as possible. If it's one feature wall, I would maybe consider painting it. We had a client that I had last month, and it was actually the colour red as well. It was in a bedroom, and I had said I would recommend neutralising this, and it was only because all 4 walls were dark red. They did it, and everyone came in and said, this room is so much bigger than I thought on the photos, and it was because the brightness of the white opposed to the red just opened everything up.
And it makes such a difference. And let's say, look at it probably cost a couple of £100, maybe £500 max to get all that done. But I bet it made a massive difference on the sale price.
Definitely, we got above the asking price.
Yeah, and that could be thousands of pounds, you know, because you would have had a situation there where it's like, you spend a little money to get a lot more back. And what we find when properties do neutralise and they are more neutral, yes, they still have to be stylish and they still have to look good. But when they are a little bit more neutral, we find that there is a lot more viewers. And it's, you know, yes, you get window shoppers, as we spoke about in our last podcast, but what I'll say is that there's still a lot more buyers, and those buyers really, then that translates into sales.
And that's where the market is now in 2024. Buyers are looking for as little to do as possible when they get their new keys, because the cost of everything has risen. If it might not necessarily be their taste, but it's neutral, they're thinking, well, I can actually stay here for a year, you know, next 6 months, and then I can decorate the lounge, and then I can move into the hallway, and I can do it room by room. But if you've got something that's quite, maybe not offensive, but in your face, then they're thinking, no, I couldn't live with this, I need to change it immediately. So if you put it back to the neutral tones, then it's livable for now, and then we're not thinking pound signs in now, we're thinking pound signs in a year.
And that's it, and it's about presenting it for the mass market. You know, and that's it, and that's what you need to do. Things presented to the mass market always sell a little bit faster, always sell a little bit better.
That's where your inquiries are going to come in. You know, if you've got 2 properties that are like for like on the market, one's dressed in really, really dark tones, one's dressed in neutral tones, I can guarantee the neutral tones is going to be having traffic in and out the door, maybe even got a closing date, whereas the other one, albeit there's nothing wrong with it, that's one's not going to be as attractive because people are thinking, I need to change that immediately. No,
100% agree with you, I really do. And it's trying to translate that articulate that to buyer or to sellers sometimes can be a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
But really it is something we're really just telling you because it is the best thing to do to try and get you.
It's not to offend anyone or anything. Yeah. It's genuinely in your best interest. It's guidance. That's what you're employing an estate agent to do. It's to guide you and to get you the best possible price at the end of the day.
Yeah, good. So that's been great. That's been really, really informative actually. So really to recap, what we'll say is make sure you're looking at your property weeks in advance of you thinking about getting an agent out. When an agent comes out, make sure they're asking you the right questions, make sure they're giving you feedback on your property, and they're maybe giving you some guidance and direction on what you should do to achieve the best price. When you're with your property goes on the market, or when the photographer comes round and then it goes on the market, remove the washing from the washing machine. Put the dishes away, put things in the cupboard if you can. And Emma, you had said as well about organising the garage, your cupboards, and things like that for viewers coming around. So again, try and do that. It's maybe an afternoon, but it's a job worth doing.
Definitely.
It really makes a difference. And try and neutralise your property as much as possible.
Get in with the trends that are currently at the moment, because that's what clients are going for.
That's it, and it's mass market. And remember, just because you don't like it, it doesn't really matter. Because you're not buying it. So when you've made the decision to sell, you're making that commitment that you are going to sell your property. And obviously to do that, you want it to look in the way that it's going to sell fastest and for the most amount of money. So follow the guidance. You know what we give. But that has been great. I think that's been really informative. I hope that helps anybody that's listening. But if you do have any questions about any of that, don't hesitate to give us a wee shout. Either drop a comment in below whichever platform you're watching this on, or just contact us directly, and we can talk you through. We can even pop up to your house as well. We work 7 days a week, I know, but we are there if you need us. So don't hesitate to give us a wee call or drop a comment. And as I say at the end of these podcasts, please hit subscribe as well, or follow us on the platform that you're watching this on, and you can get more of these. We're going to go into a lot more deeper into different property strategies, about costs for selling your house, about what a solicitor might do, about what a home report might look like, what information you should be gathering throughout the sale of a property as well from your agent. So if you have any, like I say, if you have any questions, or if you want to get the answers now, give us a call. But hit subscribe, and we will see you in the next podcast. Again, my name is John O'Malley, and this is Emma Lawson, and this has been the Property Locker. Thanks very much, guys.